The purpose of this training is to provide the agent with a navigation overview of HaloITSM. If you've successfully logged in to Halo as an agent, you're going to be presented with a default dashboard in the agent application. When I conduct this training, I'm going to focus on 3 areas. The first is this top ribbon. Next is the sidebar or navigation bar. And the third is the primary workspace. Now, what's nice is, regardless of where you are in Halo, whether you are consuming a dashboard or report, you'll always have visibility to the top ribbon and to the sidebar. As well, is if you find yourself lost within the application and you want to return to your default dashboard, the dashboard is always available through the sidebar and the top area. And I'll go over areas in a second. There's a halo. If you select that once, you're going to return to your default dashboard. Now, one of the things that I want to highlight, and I'm going to do this twice in the training session, is the fact that Halo is a web application and it has a responsive design. What I mean by that is the interface is going to change depending on the size of the screen. Let me demonstrate what will happen to this sidebar as an example if I consume Halo on a bigger screen. You'll see eventually the sidebar disappears and it's replaced by a hamburger. If you select the hamburger, the sidebar does display. The reason I'm providing you with this insight is very often when we go live, people say that they don't have access to the sidebar, and it is likely due to the fact that you have a different screen size than the screen size that I am presenting on. I'm going to return to the default screen size for the remainder of this training. As I mentioned, this is the agent interface and the default interface when you log in successfully as an agent. There is also a portal interface, and in order to navigate to the portal interface, you simply go to the top ribbon, go all the way to the right, and you'll be presented with your icon. The reason we refer to it as your icon is your initials are there. If you click on it once, you'll be exposed to the option to switch to end user portal. If you've done that successfully, when you toggle, you'll be presented with the portal. If a user is loaded into Halo and they do not have an agent counterpart, i.e. they're not licensed as an agent, they will automatically be presented with this portal. In order to return back to the agent interface, you simply go to my icon, select once, switch to agent application, and you return to your default area. What I wanted to do now is take an opportunity to talk about how to navigate through Halo. Primary navigation takes place using this sidebar or navigation menu. You'll see here that there are different areas on the sidebar, and those areas are logical groupings of tickets. For example, here, if I click on request, I have access to all of the request records in the system. Similarly with incidents, parent incidents, classroom support, etc. These areas primarily are broken down into 2 parts: ticketing areas, which I've given you an overview of, and non-ticketing areas. If you scroll down further, there are examples of non-ticketing areas. One obviously is a calendar. The other one is organization. Assets is another one. Knowledge base is another one. I can also click on these particular areas, and in this case, I'm going to be presented with information about the organization, the sites, the users, etc. If I went down to an asset area, I would see all of the assets. So you get the idea. The sidebar or navigation bar is made up of areas. Those areas either are ticketing or non-ticketing areas. What I'm going to do is stay with the theme of navigation and the sidebar. What I'd like you to do now is let's go to an area, and we'll go to an area called all tickets because everybody has visibility. I would hate for you to go into the system for me to show you something and you're not seeing the same thing. So for the purposes of this next navigation exercise, please go to the all tickets area. If you select it, you'll notice that you're presented with default views or searches or queues. Okay, the idea here is behind each one of these queues is a list of tickets or a number of tickets. Okay, you can see here as I click through the particular queues, I'm presented with a different ticket list and also a counter. You'll see that the queues also have a counter as well, indicating whether records actually exist in that queue. If I click on a queue, as I mentioned, you are presented with a list of tickets. You could navigate through the tickets by paging through here. As well, if you ever wanted to consume a ticket, you simply click on that ticket once and you're presented with a detailed view of that ticket. To navigate back to the list view, you simply go to the back arrow here next to the menus, and menus is something, menu actions is something I will cover later on. But for this case, just hit the back arrow here to return to a list of tickets. Let's do that again. If I want to consume a ticket, I simply click on it once and then use this arrow here back to return to the list. Another way to return to the list is by clicking on a detailed view of the ticket, going up here into the area and navigating backwards on the breadcrumb. So right now I'm looking at ticket number 3425. If I go back to the all tickets, you'll see I'm returned back to the list view. One last item in this particular exercise is if I click on a detailed ticket, a ticket to view the detail, I can navigate through the tickets one at a time using these navigation buttons at the top right. Okay. Once again, if I ever want to return to the list view, I simply hit the back button, navigate here, or I can simply click on the queue itself. This same capability is applicable across all of the ticket areas. So again, if I went to incidents, you'll see the same concept of queues and again, a listing of tickets. If I went to a non-ticketing area, let's say organization, I click on it. If I go to the users area, you'll see that I have a list of users in the system, in fact, 82,000 of them. If I clicked on a particular record, I'd be presented with that list view. I could toggle through the records one at a time. Okay, so what I'm demonstrating is that regardless of which area I go to, the concepts are still the same. I'm going to be presented with a list view. I can click on the particular ticket, consume the ticket, navigate through the tickets one at a time, and always return back to the list view. Again, this is true across any ticketing or non-ticketing area. Now that I've shown you navigating the sidebar and consuming tickets, I want to introduce you to one other way to consume data in Halo. And this only applies to ticketing areas. So what I mean by that is if I go to a ticketing area, in this case, we'll use my all tickets area. You'll notice here that by default, we are showing predefined searches. So all open tickets, all closed tickets, etc. Okay. Halo also provides you with out-of-the-box capability to view these tickets via a different perspective. What I mean by that is if you go up to the My Tickets view and click it once, you now have different perspectives. So what I mean by that is, let's say we want to see tickets by status. If I select that particular option, I'm now presented with a breakdown of all the tickets by status. Alternatively, if I wanted to see a breakdown of these tickets in this area based on team, I could simply click on that and have visibility to the tickets based on team. By default, though, all the areas are defaulting to my list. But again, you have the ability to consume data from different perspectives. This capability is only applicable to ticketing areas. We'll review some of these concepts as we go through other exercises. So we're now going to transition to finding records. This is a database application. There are going to be lots of records in the system. I want you to feel comfortable being able to search records. So what I'm going to do is just return to my default dashboard because we're starting a new series of exercises. And in this particular case, we're going to talk about finding tickets. So there are 4 primary ways to find tickets in Halo. I will go through each of them. Again, we're going to do this first by going to the all ticket area. And I'm going to be able to show you 3 of the search capabilities from this perspective. The first is each area allows you to search tickets right from within the area. Okay, now this particular search is restricted to that area, but let me show you how it works. I put my cursor in the search input field. I type in a particular value that I want to search again. I hit the magnifying glass, and the system brings back a search result. In this particular case, a ticket result. Okay, I'm going to clear that search. Okay. The next search capability can be accomplished whenever I'm looking at a list view, and that's called a grid search. As I hover over all of the columns, you'll notice that there is a filter. If I select just one of those filters, you can see a series of column input fields pop up. If I put my cursor in ID and I do a search of a particular ticket, you'll notice that that search result is returned to me. In order to clear this particular search, I simply remove the data that I put in the input field, or I click the X here and remove all of the input, the search input fields. The advantage of this particular capability, though, is I can go to multiple columns and perform a search. So in this case, I can type in Waxler. I get a search result of 143 in this particular area. And I can say, how many tickets does Stephen have that are in a scheduled state? And you can see I have 23 of those. So the advantage of this particular search is not only am I searching specific values in a particular field, but I can perform an AND search by searching across multiple columns. The third search that I'm going to cover is probably the most popular search, and the reason why it's the most popular is it is visible right here in the top menu. If I click on the magnifying glass here, I'm presented with an input field, and I can begin to type in my search. And in this case, I'm going to type in, again, something that I can see, 3515. And you'll see here that this ticket provides that search result. But what I'm also going to do is type in the word Waxler. And what I wanted to demonstrate here is that the system not only is going to provide me a search result of tickets, it is also going to direct me to users in this particular case. So the advantage of this search widget is it transcends areas and also transcends area types. What I mean by that is not only am I able to search tickets, but I can search users, assets, knowledge articles, etc. using this particular interface. So again, a valuable tool. The last search capability can be found in the sidebar or navigation menu. If I go to the bottom here, there is an area called search. And if I click on this area, I have the ability here to search across all the different entities within Halo. So here, if I wanted to search on tickets, I do have the ability to just type in a value here, like I did Waxler. It automatically returns the results. But the advantage here is I can now apply different filters. So if I wanted to, let me clear out these filters. I have access to all of the fields in the system. So if I wanted again to go in and identify tickets with the name Waxler, I have the ability to identify a filter, hit add, and now I could do a multi-select against that filter. If I wanted to add other filters to my search, I simply scroll down and I now have the ability to specify another field and can add that as a filter against this particular search. Just as a recap, what we did was we started in a particular ticketing area. In this case, we did all tickets. I showed you that we could perform a search using the area, the search within the area itself. We could do a grid search, and then in the top ribbon, we could execute a search here as well. And then lastly, I introduced you to a comprehensive search capability, and that is the search in the sidebar or navigation window. Okay. So far, we've covered navigation, we've covered searching. This last exercise that we're going to cover is actually working with tickets. Now, rather than me just identifying a random ticket and talking about it, what I'm going to do is log a ticket, and I'm going to use the portal as the starting point, and then I'm also going to manually log a ticket. The idea here is I want to show you how a ticket is logged in Halo and then how that ticket is consumed by the agent. What I'm going to do is go to my default dashboard. That's where I feel most comfortable. And what I'm then going to do is toggle over to my icon and toggle to the portal to log those tickets. Now, what I'm also going to do now as an opportunity is to demonstrate again that this is a web-based application. So I can go to a particular tab, hit duplicate, and now I have the ability to have another tab open with Halo. And on this particular tab, I am going to toggle to the end user portal. So on one tab, I'm viewing the portal interface, and on the other tab, I'm viewing the agent interface. Okay. Again, for the purpose of this exercise, I'm going to pretend that I am, in this case, Stephen Waxler, and I'm going to log a ticket. You'll see that I have the ability to request something. I'm going to come in here and I will type in password, and log a password ticket. The purpose here is not to talk about the particular form, but just to show you that an end user will come to the portal and log a ticket. I will populate this with the required details. And I'll type in some additional notes. Eventually, I'll come to the end of the form and I will hit submit. As a user using the portal, I'm then presented with a summary of the ticket that I have just submitted. From here, I could return home, I could close out the browser, any number of actions. I'm also going to use this opportunity to go in and log an issue. So I've just logged a request. Now I'm going to log an issue. So I'm going to go down here. I'm going to go to teaching classrooms, and I will select eLearn, and I'm going to select this particular option here, and I will type in and none of these are required, but I will complete a few of the details and then hit submit. Once again, I get a confirmation Just to let you know, not only does the customer get a visual confirmation, but they'll also get an email with the details of this ticket. Now that I've consumed or finished with the portal, I'm going to go back to the interface. However, those of you that are interested, the user can always go to my tickets and see the status of their tickets here. I will be returning and updating a ticket, and I'll show you that in a second. So I'm back to the agent interface, and I now want to potentially consume those tickets. Couple of things that I want to bring your attention to at this point, and I want to talk a bit about the default dashboard. The default dashboard for the agent, basically the purpose is to provide you with an overview of tickets that you're responsible for, okay, as well as tickets that are assigned to a team that you are a member of. So I'm looking at, actually, you know what I wanted to do? Let me use my my ALEC user here. So the idea here is tickets you're responsible for and team tickets. Okay. In addition to that, you can see that we also provide in this particular queue tickets that have been submitted via email or the portal that haven't yet been actioned by an agent. And then further down on the default dashboard, we show open tickets. Okay. Now, not only do you have access to this particular default dashboard, but we've also created a My Work area. So in the sidebar, there is an area referred to as My Work. The idea is that this particular area provides more insight into tickets that you are responsible for, as well as your team tickets. Just as a reminder, I could duplicate my tabs, and on one tab, I could have my default dashboard, and another tab, I could be working on particular tickets. I could move this particular tab to a different screen. All right. So we're an agent. We've logged into the system. A customer has consumed, logged some tickets. We're a service desk agent. I now have the ability to go in and see what's come in the queue. You can see here that I have access to new submissions. And what we've done here is we're showing the oldest ticket first. So if I wanted to find the ticket that we had just logged, I would simply go down to the bottom here and I would see those tickets that have just come in via the portal. So you can see that at the bottom because they were the last two tickets logged. Not only can I consume these tickets via clicking on the button here, but I also have the ability, as I mentioned, to go to my work, and I have access to new team submissions. If I did a reverse sort, I would have access to the tickets that I just logged. If you don't belong to a team that supports end user submittals, these same tickets can be found in the all tickets area, assuming you have visibility to those tickets. Whenever you go to a ticket area outside of my work or my dashboard, all the tickets are going to show up as the oldest at the top of the queue. So in this case, you can see the two tickets that were logged by Stephen Waxler at the top. If I wanted to consume one of these tickets, I simply click on the button here, and I'm now looking at a detailed view of this particular ticket. I want to pause here because what I want to do is I want to again show you that depending on your ticket size, the screen is going to look very different. So by default, Halo is made up of 4 areas. This ticket area, ticket details, end user details, and these menus across the top. However, if I make this screen smaller, so I'm consuming this on an iPad or an iPhone, The system is first going to collapse these two columns. So these two columns will sit on top of each other. If the screen gets even smaller, these two columns are going to be replaced by a details tab. So if I click on the screen size here and to demonstrate, you'll notice that immediately the two columns are now stacked on top of each other. If I go even smaller, there won't be a column here, and the two columns are replaced by a details tab. If I go to the details tab, you can see that I can navigate through the ticket details and the end user details. Again, I highlight this because very often during the go live, or when people are following the video, they say my screen doesn't look the same, and it's likely due to screen size. I'm going to return to my preferred default screen size, and I will continue with the exercise. So we logged a ticket via the portal. As an agent, we have picked up the ticket in the new submission queue, and we are going to action this particular ticket. But before I action the ticket, what I want to do is go through and provide you with an overview of the ticket. Now, the nice thing about Halo is, regardless of the ticket that we are reviewing, whether it's a change, a request, or an incident, the overall look and feel is the same. The only difference is the attributes or the fields that are behind that ticket. So obviously a change ticket would have very different attributes than an incident or a request ticket, and also the workflow. So in this particular case, in my ticket area, I'm looking at a ticket type called Learn. And this is going to have a different profile and even potentially a different workflow than another type of ticket. But the overall ticket is going to look the same. So let me use this opportunity to provide an overview of the ticket. Firstly, I'm looking at the ticket area, and the ticket area is broken up into multiple tabs. The first tab, Progress tab, the purpose there is to show me any activity that has transpired against this particular ticket. As we work through the ticket, there will be additional activity that shows up in the progress area. As an example, I could come in here as an agent and add a note. Okay. Now that I've added the note, you can see that that action has been added to the In Progress tab. There's also an automations tab. This basically lets me know, are there any automations running in the background against this ticket? This just lets me know that the customer got an email confirmation that this ticket had been submitted. There's additional fields. The purpose of the additional fields is to provide visibility to information that was provided as part of the ticket. So in this case, it was a portal submission, and the customer provided us with this information. We do have the ability to update this information. So if I come in here and I say, oh, it wasn't that particular item, the customer meant to specify that. Under course code, it was 1, 2, 3, 4. You get the idea. I have the ability to have visibility to any of the fields that relate to this ticket. Keep in mind, though, that some of these fields could show up here under the additional fields, or they could show up here under the ticket details. The summary is right here, and that's also editable. So I can say I am adding to the summary. And regardless of where I am, I will always have visibility to the ticket number. The audit log is exactly that. It's an audit of any changes to the system, who made the change, when it was made, what field was changed, and the before and after values. Moving along now, we're at the ticket detail area. This particular ticket has an SLA, so I see SLA details. I see some general information about the ticket. I have visibility to the status, and also the team this ticket is assigned to, and this came in via the web, so currently it is unassigned. Okay. On the right-hand side, I have information about the customer. In this particular case, it was Stephen that logged this ticket. You can see that there's a hyperlink here. So if I wanted to see more information about Stephen, I could click on a button and an interface pops open, letting me know all of the ticket information related to Stephen. So the ticket history, if you will. Okay. If this particular user, or I logged the ticket against the wrong user, I do have the opportunity to move the cursor to the furthest right and then look for an alternative user for this ticket. Oh, sorry, minimize that. Okay. Lastly, I want to talk about these menus across menu actions across the top, or these actions across the top. These actions are specific to a particular ticket and where I am in the workflow, and I will demonstrate that in a second. Okay, so one of the things that you'll notice as well is if my screen is not wide enough, there'll be an ellipse here letting me know that there are additional actions that are available for execution. What we're going to do is we're going to work this ticket through the life cycle. I also wanted to remind you that there will be training videos across all of the ticket types in Halo. So if this particular ticket type is not relevant to you, i.e. you only focus on change tickets, there will be a training session on changes. But the concept is exactly the same, although the actions and the attributes may be different. So in this particular case, let's say that I want to begin work on this ticket because this is one of the actions that I have available. If I hit begin work, I'm going to click on the button and the system in this particular case is going to let anybody know that it was Alec that executed begin work. And also now the ticket has moved to in progress. My name is associated with the ticket and the response SLA has been achieved. So there are going to be cases where an action moves the ticket along the life cycle. There are going to be other actions, though, that are simply that, just actions related to potentially documentation or communicating to a customer. Let me give you an example. If I wanted to email the customer and provide them with an update of this ticket, I could go to update user as an action. This is going to provide me with a template for me to type in an email. So let me say, this is the status of your ticket. If I hit send, the system is going to bring up that email template, give me an opportunity to confirm, yes, this is what I wanted to include. If I'm unhappy, I can close this window and I can add some additional text. Blah, blah. That's much better. I hit send. I get to preview the email, and I'm now going to hit the send button here. And now the customer is going to be the recipient of that email. Customers do have the ability to respond to emails. They can also update tickets via the portal. Okay. If they respond to the email or update the ticket via the portal, their updates will be reflected in the ticket. And I'm actually going to go through and show you how that works now. I just want to pause for a second and duplicate the tab just to show you that because I'm now managing this particular ticket, if I go to my view, you'll see now that I have a ticket that I'm working on that's assigned to me, and it's that same ticket. In my work area, I have visibility to that ticket as well, also my team tickets. As I mentioned here, there is a possibility that if I communicate out to the customer will update this ticket. Let me just demonstrate how that, what would happen there. So I'm going to go into Stephen, who logged the portal ticket, and I think it was the eLearn ticket that I was working on. So here, yep, I'm going to add a ticket. So this is my, I'm going to do this. Thank you for the update. Okay. If I hit save, the system is going to update the status of this particular ticket. Okay. If I'm looking at this particular ticket, eventually the system will automatically refresh and show me the ticket has been updated by the customer. If I go to, and I've just clicked on this other tab, if I go to either my work or my dashboard, I can see that the customer has one of my tickets has been updated. Not only is there a visual cue here within the ticketing system, I, as the agent managing the ticket, would also get an email notification. What I'm going to do, though, is go back to the actual ticket that I'm working on and then demonstrate, in order to clear this particular view, what I want the agents to do is hit Update Viewed. Update Viewed allows everybody to know that you reviewed the ticket update from the customer. Okay? As well, the ticket is returned to its pre-status state, which in this case was in progress. So in this last exercise, we took this ticket, we provided an update to the customer responded with a thank you, and now we're continuing to work through this particular ticket. Now, in this particular case, okay, I have the ability to close the ticket, cancel the ticket, say the ticket is with the customer, a number of different actions. A couple of the actions I've already demonstrated. But again, we're going to cover a lot of these actions specific to the workflows that they relate to. So for the purposes of this exercise, what I'm going to do is simply close this ticket. If I hit close, the system again presents me with an email template prompting me for the close details. So I'm going to say this was done. Okay, I hit send, and the system in this case is going to present me with a different template. In this particular case, it is a ticket resolved template. Okay, what I'm going to do now is hit the send button, and this ticket is now closed. Just as a recap, we went to the portal, we logged a ticket, then as an agent, we consumed that ticket and now work through the ticket through its life cycle. Again, I can go to my queue, my new submission, and then take the next ticket and start going through that exact process. So you'll see here, because of the ticket type, you can see the actions are slightly different. But again, the look and the feel of the ticket is still the same. We have these related tabs, ticket details, and user details, and actions across the top. For the last exercise, I wanted to demonstrate logging a new ticket manually. In the event that you are part of the service desk or there's a situation that warrants you logging a ticket on behalf of an end user, you have the ability here to come to New Ticket and log a ticket. Let me just remind everybody that this new ticket capability is in the top ribbon and available anywhere. Also, if you are in a particular area and looking at a list view, there's another new button here that allows you to log a new ticket. Okay. If I click this new button, the system knows that I'm looking at, in this particular case, an incident ticket and will log an incident ticket. But if I use this one here, the system will first prompt me for the end user. So I'll say that Stephen Waxler is calling. And I'm going to select incident here. And I'm now going to complete this particular ticket. So, and it's prompting me for a classification. I'll leave that. That's fine. And then, yes, I want to own the ticket, and I'm going to hit submit. In this particular case, I've now logged the ticket as an agent, and after the ticket has been submitted, I'm now presented with that same view that we saw before. So regardless of whether the ticket is logged via the customer and the portal, or the ticket is logged by the agent, the system will present the ticket to me in the same layout, and I now have the ability to action the ticket. Just as a recap, we covered navigation, we covered finding a ticket. We then wanted to provide you with an overview of a ticket. We thought it best to demonstrate a customer logging a ticket via the portal and then the agent managing the ticket through the life cycle. In the last scenario, we also demonstrated logging a new ticket, highlighting the fact that after the ticket was logged, the look and feel is exactly the same as if it had come through the portal. The agent would simply manage the ticket through its specific life cycle. Okay. Let me just demonstrate this logging a ticket again. If I click log new ticket, I'm presented with the new ticket agent log interface. I can identify the person that asked me to log the ticket. And here I have the ability to identify the ticket type. So last time I logged an incident, but if I wanted to log a change request, I have the ability to do that. Once I complete the change details and submit the ticket, I'd now be able to work the ticket like any other. Anyway, I wanted to thank you all for watching this video. Thank you.